Hello, everyone. So, our topic of discussion for today is what essentially is a group and its characteristics. Let us firstly understand what is a group. So, when we talk about a group, it is actually an organized system of two or more individuals. So essentially, in a group, there can be two people or there can be more than two people who are interacting, with one another, and of course, they are interdependent, which means that they are entirely dependent on one another. They do have common motives and they do have a set of role relationships, which means they all have their roles to play. And of course, they have certain norms which, in a way, regulate their behavior. Now, moving on to its characteristics, let us understand each characteristic of a group. The first one is sense of belongingness. So now the group actually, especially the members of the group, they tend to have or feel the sense of belongingness. And because of this feeling, naturally, it further helps them to distinguish, one group from another group, and it gives their group a unique identity. So every member feels the sense of belongingness, when of course they are being a part of the same group, essentially. So the second characteristic is on common motives and goals. Of course, their motives and goals are but common. They all have the same goals and motives. So these groups either they function working towards a particular goal, you know, or they could actually be working away from certain threats, that probably the group must be facing. When we talk about the third characteristic, it especially focuses on interdependence, so they are very much interdependent, which means that if any member of the group does anything, definitely the entire group has to pay for it, whether it's a gain or whether it's a loss. The entire group has to go through it. So many a times we've seen in a lot of cricket matches when there are certain, fielders who, in a way, actually are not able to make up to the catch. So entire team has to suffer. They have to go through the consequences, you know so then the next one is joint association. How they are actually trying to really satisfy a need by coming together through this joint association, and which in a way also influences each other this way, you know. And the next one is how their interactions, they can either be direct or they can be indirect. And of course, we have their roles and norms. When we talk about their roles and norms, they do have a set of roles and norms, And essentially, if we talk about the group members, they are actually performing the same functions, each time the group comes together, and they have to follow certain group norms, and these norms are very beneficial, they are very essential because they actually tell them how they're supposed to behave, and what is actually expected out of them. So these roles and norms are very, very beneficial and very essential actually to each and every member of the group. When we talk about something called as crowd, which is also nothing but a collection of people, you know so of course, when we talk about crowd, it is also a collection of people, but it's not something that we can term as a group because collection of people can be anywhere, and they really don't have a sense of belongingness, or they probably might not have the same goal, or they're not working towards a goal essentially, so they are just coming together at a particular place or coming together pertaining to any situation that's called them there, or maybe has called for a collection of huge people or a huge crowd actually. That could be by chance, that it has actually happened. So we notice many a times that there is a huge gathering on the roadside. Many a times it could be because of certain incidents taking place, So these large number of people are basically not really having the sense of belongingness essentially, and their behavior is also very illogical, very irrational, not reasonable at times, and also there is no interdependence. In a way, they are not dependent on each other, or they are not accountable in a way for one another, and so they collect together maybe for their own reasons, not really answerable to anyone else, and maybe not even working towards the same goal. So that is what crowd is. Essentially, it is not same as a group. So this was all about the group and its characteristics. Thank you so much.